Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to everybody. I hope you are doing well. All right. Just getting ready and prepared. How's it going, Ethan? Welcome to nail school. Damn, Queen Uni, Caroline, how's it going? Welcome, you guys. Welcome to another edition of Nail School. Jorge, can you do me a favor, bro? Can you grab me an empty mixing jar? If you can find one.
I got a phone.
Perfect. How's it going? Shanika, Ashley, Phyllis, A, BR, how's it going? Yeah, that's perfect, bro. I appreciate it. All right, so we are going to do some really cool stuff. For those of you guys that actually came to the Acrylics Fundamental class yesterday, I worked with Cover Paint and actually showed you how to pick it up, set it down. We're going to be going over a lot of the fundamental work as well, but really want to be able to take it to another level. I'm going to be working with Speed Clear from the Ultimate Kit. I'm going to be mixing in some glitters, right? Try to keep a Halloween type theme, purple green, and some real nice sparkle to the nail. Go over the same fundamental aspects, but we're going to mix it up and do a fade smile line as well as a window frame. I want to show you guys how to do that. Very good evening, Queen. Good morning to you. And Jake, glad you're here. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and make this mix. What I want to be able to do is I'm going to take the Speed Clear, and really important to get it into the, so what I like to do is mix in about that much inside the jar, right up underneath the threading. Then I'm going to take the much brighter top nail. How's it going? Glad to have you here. I'm going to take this really beautiful purple that is, again, camera on. And what we want to be able to do is I want to get a real heavy coating on that surface. Boom, just like that. So it's going to come up almost to that first threading. Then what we can do with some of the iridescent glitter, I'm going to use Incredible Green. Hey, everybody, glad that you're here. And let's just go ahead and just give it a nice dash to cover that color. So it leaves just enough space where I'm going to be able to take any of the chunkier glitters. This one, just to show you guys, is New Hollywood. And what we want to be able to do is just give a dash onto the surface. All right, so to mix it so that everything doesn't get all over the place, if there's a little bit of space in here, all we really need to do is cup our hands and then roll it, all right? I will definitely do more Synergy Gel on YouTube. This week, I'm really focusing on acrylic. I can definitely do that the following week. I did gel a couple weeks ago, so I'll definitely keep that in mind and show you guys how to crush that as well. So once I spin this, you're going to see that the glitter is going to disperse really, really well. And this gives me the ability, Carrie, can you grab me wipes? Sorry about that. I just want to be able to show you. Thank you so much. So a nice trick is holding your brush right up to, holding the bottle up to the ferrule. You're going to be able to dispense the liquid inside your dish without spilling. And you can see, right, I come in and grab myself. Again, bounce, bounce, bounce. All right, I'm going to be able to get a really nice, look at that. This is the purple green, some of that chunk. So we're going to be using this, right, to work with the designs today. I'm going to be working primarily with Speed Clear to show you guys how you're going to be able to work really, really well with the acrylic. But before we actually begin, once I have the glitter mixed out, what I want to be able to do is go ahead and prep the surface and get ready for application. So always remember, like once you clip off the tip, you know, go through the motions of pushing back the cuticle area. And then what we want to be able to do is get our electric file at a low speed. I like about 4,000 RPMs. And what I want to be able to do is just lightly remove shine. And just feathering it away from corner to corner, just gently, right? I do not want to be aggressive. And we're using an arbor band because it's the same material as a hand file. Once we remove shine from the whole entire surface, then what we have to do is use swipe to clean the surface. Okay, so I'm going to come in, I'm going to make sure that we remove all the oils, contaminants, and dust. And then this is going to set us up for protein bond, right? So with protein bond, we want to apply 2 coats. So I like to come in, apply 2 coats from cuticle to free edge, just like this, and that's ready to rock and roll. Okay, now we are done with getting it prepped and ready to rock and roll. So what we need to focus on now is what consistency with Speed Clear are we going to be working with so that we get great results, okay? Really important, if you submerge your brush, remember yesterday, if you submerge your brush, right? If you tap one end, you're gonna do the same exact thing. 45-degree angle, pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. You're going to get a really nice bead on one side of the brush, okay? So you'll notice, right, what I usually do with all my students when we're starting, we want the acrylic to move from this point to this point in the least amount of effort. Tap it to flatten it out, submerge our brush, tap, pull down, bounce, 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 count 1, 2, 3, I didn't count to 4, right? Look at this, I can slide tight while the product starts to move down from this point to this point. Like it'll get to a point where I could use the tip of the brush just to kind of lightly feather over the surface, right? But you'll notice with a very light touch that I'm able to get the product to move from here to here without doing much at all. The nice thing about this is, look, as close as I get, the clarity is unreal. Like it is glass-like. That's what really separates our clear from the rest of the industry, is that you're going to be able to get glass-like acrylic when you're working with Speed Clear, right? I got a little bit of glitter from my brush, but this is what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to get it from these 2 points, right, without, again, running all over the skin. Okay, so here, right, don't make the mistake if you submerge your brush and you literally are scraping liquid off the back, right? If I'm scraping liquid off the back of the brush, no matter how many times I bounce inside the speed powder, I'm only gonna get something that's big enough for a fill. If I wanna cover something this big, I need a bead that's gonna be about half the size of the nail bed. So again, flatten out your powder, submerge your brush, lightly tap dead center, pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. You're going to get a large bead, count 1, 2, 3, even 4. 4 count is good. Look at this, with that space, I could lightly slide, lightly slide, lightly slide, lightly slide, maintaining a slow roll through the stress area, right? And then again, you have the ability, I can really start to gently start to pull through, but you'll notice as I am pulling through, everything is going to overlay perfectly. You don't have to force it down. The goal is to try to get it into position, right? So it creates that natural arch for you. It's the same motion that we're going to be working with when we're doing design work. So everything that we went over yesterday, right? Submersing your brush, setting it down, it applies to your design work as well, right? Angle of the brush, okay? You'll notice, if I have the hand at this angle, everything is going to move here. If I have the brush flat, remember, flatten out your powder. If I have the brush flat, watch this, and the finger flat, take a look at this. Take a look at how thick the cuticle area gets as I brush through, right? And not only that, there's no way the acrylic is going to move here. Everything is moving in this direction right here, right? So what we have to be able to do is we have to get it to move so it creates that beautiful arch, okay? It's all about positioning. Just go ahead and wipe off all of this before it sets. Go ahead and clean my brush, flatten out my powder. Look at the angle of attack. If my brush is flat and the finger is like this, I'm going to create that natural arch. So like we were talking about yesterday, if I come here to my chalkboard, all right, and I draw my lines of my axis lines, all right? If the finger, again, is at a 45-degree angle, this is the natural nail, right? And my brush, again, is flat in application, right? When I set the bead down and lightly start pressing towards the cuticle area, I'm going to create this, see that? So that it will, and as it starts to move in this direction, the product will naturally shape to perfection. That is what we have to be able to do. You cannot have the finger in this direction and the brush flat. You're gonna end up creating a gigantic bead that's going to look like this. We don't want it like this, we want it like this so that your cuticle areas are tight, correct? If you have, again, any surface, like let's say this is the natural nail, let's say you glue a tip on or you sculpt a tip, you have to, if this is the back end of the cuticle area, you're trying to get it as flush to the perimeter as you possibly can. You cannot force it with the brush. You have to make sure that in order for you to create this, right, around the whole entire surface, the product has to self-level by itself. But you can't have it work too fast, okay? So, let's go ahead and get a couple of tips, all right? You'll notice, watch this, even this being a fast set powder, if I was to submerge my brush and I have this really wet, right? If I have this really wet and I pick this up and I go directly to the fingernail, watch how fast it moves. Like, look at this. You see how it's running? Dude, it's running so fast that if I was to hold this position, even as a fast set powder, what's gonna end up happening is it's gonna end up dripping off the nail, okay? So to control the run, to control that runniness, like some of you cannot control, you have to give it a chance to breathe, okay? So what I'm gonna do, again, if I submerge my brush and I have this really wet, I basically barely touch it. Let's go ahead and flatten this out again. Barely touch it, come down, bounce, 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 count. 1, 2, 3, and then at 4, look at this slow release. So you'll notice at this point, look at that space I have around. This gives me the ability to use the tip of my brush to lightly slide. You see that? Look at this. It doesn't take much. If I need to control the run, I can touch the surface. Look at that, I can spread it evenly. Everything is self-leveling to perfection on the sides. You know, at this point right here, if I wanted to come in and touch a smile line, do you see how I'm just barely touching it? It will roll. it will teardrop to the perfect shape. Now, look at this, it's still setting. So if I wanted to actually pull this into shape by using a little bit of force, look at that. Without it actually sticking, I could actually use the body of the brush. I can kind of redirect some of that acrylic, but you're going to notice that I'm actually going to be able to overlay the whole entire surface of the nail without any issues at all. I need to? Yeah, I actually do need to. Been doing photo shoots all morning, so. And plus, the problem is when you're working with a camera, right? Nails look pretty decent, but when you're working under a camera, this high definition, it picks up everything. But I agree, I need to get my nails done. All right, so what we're going to do, all right, what we're going to do, from Los Angeles, born in LA, grew up in Orange County my whole entire life, been teaching for over 25 years. My mother and I started a company when I was 20 years old, and my brother joined us in 2001. He pretty much runs the company now. Family business, been doing this for a long time. All right, so what we want to be able to do, again, is control the run of the acrylic, right? So you'll notice, like, try to get everything on frame, right? Ignore some of the glitter. Even if we're working with a speed product, we need to allow the product to set. So if I submerge my brush, right, I want to demonstrate something to you. I'm not even going to tap it. Watch this. If I submerge my brush, just let this drip off. As wet as this is, right? Look at this. If I was able to pick this up, if I set this directly to the nail, there's way too much liquid. Watch what ends up happening. It runs out of control. Look, if I was to hold the finger like this, flat, do you see how it starts to spread onto the skin? This is a huge problem. We don't ever want it to be in that position, right? We want it to be in a position where it moves perfectly through the nail without you having, right, without you having to manipulate it and get your brush jammed up. So if I, again, submerge my brush, look at this. I'm just gonna let this drip off. Show you guys a trick. Just wait. If I pull down, bounce, 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 and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at 6, I wait a little bit longer because I didn't remove any liquid. Look at how much control, look at that. It's like I can touch the surface. I literally can use the tip of the brush. I'm barely touching the surface to guide this into perfection, right? It's not going to get away from you. It's going to give me the ability to use the body of the brush, right, to really walk it into proper positioning before I actually have to brush it into shape, okay? Hey, Sue, good to have you here. All right, so what we want to be able to do, for those of you guys who haven't subscribed to the channel and you are literally wanting to learn how to do nails, you've come to the right place. Just subscribe and like. You'll get notifications and you'll get educated. I promise you that. All right, so working with acrylic today, I want to be able to show you guys what we're going to do. So I made this glitter mix earlier. Where is it? Where'd it go? Boom. So one of the things we have to focus on before we actually get into sculpting is how are we going to use glitter to create what I call our base layer, right? So that we can actually do the design. So when you're starting on a tip like this, one of the things that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to overlay, right, the design on the background. So if I take my brush, right, I'm gonna create a little bit of a fade right here, okay? If I submerge my brush, let me get the glitter inside. Watch this. I'm going to, let me try to get everything in screen so you can see. If I submerge my brush, now this time, watch this. 1, 2, 3, I scraped it off a few times because I want to be able to bounce in the powder and get a very minimal amount on one side of my brush. If I set this to the free edge, I can lightly walk it by touching the surface, Look at this, just by barely touching it to get it nice and even from one side so that I cover the front of the tip. If I turn my brush around and pull back, take a look, I can create what I call a really nice ombre, a fade. See that? So you can see how it looks like the glitter is actually shooting inside the nail, right? I keep a level of opacity right here. I use the tip of the brush to gently brush back. And you can see from the side profile, look at this, all the way down to the side, like it's still super thin. I have great coverage on the front of the nail. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing to create the background to overlay, right? So if we're trying to do a glitter fade, once I actually have that applied to the front of the tip, then what we're going to do is we're going to use our speed clear and we're going to cover the whole entire thing. It's really important that we do the same thing. If I submerge my brush, I lightly tap on one side, I pull down, bounce, bounce, bounce. I count 1, 2, 3, 4. I slow release. I lightly slide to the back of the cuticle area to get it as tight as I can. The bead will start to move. Look at this. If I need to guide it, I just barely touch it, right? Give it a few seconds. Then what you're going to do is pull from the front of the bead, wipe your brush, pull from the front of the bead. Every time I'm pulling, I'm gonna wipe. Pull, wipe, pull, wipe, pull, wipe. Look at this. I'm going to be able to overlay the whole entire surface and cover the design. Again, I don't have too thick of a tip. If I have a little bit of a ledge, you're gonna be able to see as I'm brushing through, everything seals tight right along that edge right there. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to create, again, something that's not going to be very difficult, right, to overlay. So all of you guys that are starting, it doesn't matter if you're doing something like this. If I was doing a smile line, watch this, I would do the same thing. But this time, I'm gonna actually control the run. If I submerge my brush, lightly tap, I pull down, bounce, 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 count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I release that 5. Look at this, with all that space, I'm literally just kind of sliding to the back, right? I'm gonna try to guide the acrylic down through the center, barely touching the surface. You can see that. It's basically moving into position. I'm not pulling it, I'm just lightly tapping it like a gel, right? I have it in a position right now where I'm gonna be able to use, if I'm doing an overlay, the tip of my brush, and I'm not sliding it, I'm kind of just poking back at this. Touch, 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 barely getting it even from corner to center. I'm gonna do the same thing from corner to center, and then I could use the body of the brush just to kind of flatten it out to create that nice wall that I need. Once I have it nice and even, then what we want to be able to do is take our glitter. I'm going to submerge my brush. I like to get a wet bead. Watch the difference. I'm going to scrape it off, and I'm just going to touch the surface. Touch, 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 touch. Look at this. I'm moving the finger around, but what I want to be able to do while it's in its self-leveling position is touch it so that I could guide it all the way to the corner of the smile on both sides. I'm missing all that space, it's okay. What I'm gonna be able to do is use the tip of my brush, guide it into position, all right? Guide this all into position so that it meets all around the sides. It's not running off the nail, right? All the way, just using the tip of the brush just to kind of guide it, tuck it into position, just like this, okay? And then what we wanna be able to do, right, is lightly cap it with clear. So what I'll do is I don't want to build too much clear around the edge because I already have enough that's covering the very, very tip. I want to submerge the brush. I'm just going to get a very small amount. And then once I set this down, I'm using it. I'm just lightly touching it, just kind of guiding the clear all the way over the surface, as you can see, just to cap it. Right, giving it a chance to set, And then what I can do is use the body of the brush and move it from side to side as it starts to dry. You want to be able to do this, right? So that when you're moving to your sculptured nail from here, you got your overlay down, you have your smile line down. And there's a lot of things that you can do with the glitter. If I submerge my brush, right, once the nail is prepped, like you can literally take the glitter like this. I could set this down wet, and then what we can do is while it's wet, what I can do is I can kind of chase it around the edges. I can guide this, right? Like all the way down to kind of create a window frame. Boom. Right? Just really focus on trying to make this as thin as we possibly can. Use this, just kind of fade it into the body. All right, fade it into the body to create that window frame. Boom. And then you'll notice, as thin as this is, I'm just using the tip of my brush just to kind of guide, right? Boom. So I have that kind of coated around the edge, but you'll notice from the side profile, again, super, super thin. What I'm gonna be able to do at this point, again, is take my clear powder, right, get a nice bead. I'm going to set this at the cuticle area. I'm going to lightly slide, lightly slide, lightly slide as tight around the perimeter. As the bead starts to move, I lightly kind of guide it into place. And then as it starts to dry, I start to feather it through the whole entire body just to make sure that we get a beautiful overlay. And then what I can do is with the body of my brush, I can actually start guiding the rest of the acrylic all the way through. Right, so whatever you're using, colored acrylic, right, glitter, any type of color, what you're gonna be able to do is you're gonna be able to overlay the whole entire thing. So whatever design you decide to do with glitter, there's so many different options, okay? So let's go ahead and take this and start building out a nail. What I like to do is get my form. I teach for a living. And then I put that tab underneath so that I can go ahead and pinch the form. This is going to set me up again so that I already have a nice C-curve. See where I'm holding the form? What this is going to do is it's going to allow me to bring the form underneath the tip, just like this, and then I could use my hand to tilt this up to make it as even as I possibly can. No, it's not Habib. It is Greg. It's the cool one. All right, so if I'm doing a fade with this style, what I can do is I could submerge my brush. I could end up getting a nice bead of acrylic. What are we gonna do like we did yesterday? I'm gonna remove the excess from the back of my brush. That way, when I set it to the front of the form, take a look, it doesn't run. So remember yesterday, we walk it down the side, even with the growth channel, walk it from the top. Even with the growth channel, walk it from the top. I get it tight. I go back over the top. Even with the growth channel, walk it from the top. Even from the top. All I'm trying to do is get this tucked up to the corners. Now, what I'll be able to do before it dries, if I'm going with length, I'll be able to brush this out. Then I can actually use the body of the brush and then manipulate, again, shape and form. But you can see I've got a nice even structure built from corner to corner. Glitter looks awesome, right? All we're doing is making it nice and even from side to side, right? What we're going to do to cover this line that is absolutely flush to the nail, you take a look at the side. My growth channels, look at how even, they're perfectly straight all the way to the very, very end. And that's what we want to be able to do. If I submerge my brush and I take a very, very small amount, I'm going to lay this down right here in between that natural smile, just a little bit more before it sets. And then remember what we did with our fade. I take my brush backwards And all I'm going to do is lightly pull this into the body of the nail. So it looks like a really nice opaque build out, and then I can use the tip of the brush and just lightly disperse some of that glitter from side to side, but we're covering up that line of demarcation. Once we actually have that built out, then what we want to be able to do is use our clear powder and do the same thing. If I submerge my brush and I tap, all right, again, a lot of liquid, I'm going to pull down, I'm going to get myself a nice healthy bead. 1, 2, 3, 4, release. I'm going to use the tip of the brush. I'm going to lightly slide while I'm holding the finger down, really concentrating on the perimeter, kind of guiding all the thickness past the stress area. Here from the front of the bead, this is every single time I pull it a few times, I wipe my brush. Pull this a few times, wipe my brush. But you're going to notice, look at how easy it is for me to create this beautiful structure, right? Without having to apply 5, 6, 7 different beads. I'm almost able to get it all the way to the very, very end, right? With a great arch without having to do much at all. If I have some missing product at the front, what I'm going to do again is just get a gentle amount. If I turn my brush backwards, I'll be able to position it in that negative space, pull back, leaving the acrylic overlaid over the tip, and then start to use the body of the brush to walk it from side to side so that I'm actually able to cover the remaining space. All right, so you can see how well that is built out. Growth channels are absolutely straight. You're gonna be able to look in the side profile. Like everything here is setting me up so that when I file this into shape, I don't have a really, really bulky structure to work with. Let's go ahead and remove this. We'll let this dry out. If I'm doing a smile line, all right? Let's go ahead and prepare this tip. Okay, so all you guys out there that are working, just remember that the back of the tips are quite thick, so if you cut that little plastic piece off, what you'll be able to do is file around the edges to make them tight. For those of you guys that just joined us, make sure to subscribe. The only way you're gonna get notifications on all the live events that we do, you have to join. Pump for all you guys out there that are looking to get into young nails as well. Black Friday sales coming, starts November 6th. The bundles, the deals, all the new products we have coming onto the market, the biggest sale of the year, it's going to be epic. And I plan to let you guys know what that stuff is going to be. I'm gonna have to sneak in here and show you guys, piss Viv and Tracy off. You're gonna notice as this starts to dry, it's a very, very velvet-like structure. Like, I don't wanna start pulling this off right away just because the free edge is still moldable, but you could always take like the back end of your magic wand. I just wanna show you something. If I slid this, see that? If I kind of slid this off of the form, then what you're going to notice is I take this off. Like if I had to come in and actually mold this into a much deeper C curve, you have the ability to come in and pinch and kind of reshape the tip, right, to get this as tight as you possibly can. It's not completely dry, but again, just to give you the ability to see as the acrylic sets, right, because I have the clear structure over the top. Once it sets, you're going to be able to do some customizing really to get this dialed to make it much, much tighter all the way through. Okay. Oh, God. Mystery boxes. There's 4 mystery boxes. There's 2. There's 2 mystery boxes and 3 other bundles. Sorry. That just tells you how much I know. Yeah. All I know is some of the stuff that we have coming out. I've had to shoot some videos with it, and they're gonna be crazy, you guys. I'm really, really excited to show you what we have. But just remember, November 6th, 9 a.m., start a Black Friday sale. It's running all the way to December 2nd. It's going to be absolutely epic. All right, so once we remove shine from the surface of the nail, I want to go ahead and clean that off using swipe. And then again, what we're going to do is we're going to take Protein Bond and we're going to apply 2 coats from cuticle to free edge. All right, I like to do all 10 fingers and then come back and apply another even coat from cuticle to free edge. I just want to be able to show you. I have sensitive nails that hurt me. You need a really good nail technician who's going to be able to work on you without hurting you at all. Okay, let's go ahead and build the smile line. So what we're going to do, we're going to flatten our powder out. We're going to submerge our brush. What I want to be able to do is pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to get myself a nice bead. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one a little bit longer. That way I'm going to be able to use the tip of my brush to kind of guide this. Look at this, I'm lightly sliding it. Then I could use the tip, excuse the glitter that I have in here. So as it starts to move in a teardrop shape all the way to the front, right, to prevent it from moving, I'm just lightly kind of poking it back. See that? Just lightly. I'm not sliding my brush. I want to just kind of poke this back just to hold it in position. So I'm trying to bring this all the way down to the edge. Once it stops moving, then again, you're going to notice that every single time you kind of jab at it, you're going to be able to make it sharper. You'll also notice at this point, once I flat out my brush like this, from a bird's eye view, if I'm just touching, right, to get that as tight as I possibly can, I'm gonna try to get that smile line as even from side to side so that when I'm building out my smile, right, with the glitter, when I'm doing the actual free edge, I have the perfect wall to be able to build this to. You can see the volume of acrylic from side to side. I'm trying to build an even structure, same thickness from side to side. It's not like I want this. I need to keep this corner as thick as this, okay? So once this is built out, then what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to get our form. You're always going to do your smile line. You're always going to do your body first. I'm going to take the tab. I'm going to place it underneath. I'm going to pre-pinch the tip just like this. I'm going to open it up. Where I'm going to hold it is right here, all right? Again, at the very, very bottom. You'll notice this is rock hard. That is ready to file. Okay, so here, what I want to be able to do is, again, I want to get it underneath, use my hand, right? Once it's underneath, tilt this up until the form touches the free edge, then secure it to the side. Once I have that done, we're now going to take the glitter mix and we're going to go ahead and push this right up to the edge of the smile line. All right, so what I like to do, again, remember, when we're working, we set this down, I walk it down the side, I get it even with the growth channel, walk it from the top. The top quadrant is where I'm walking it, and then I use the tip of the brush to tuck it up against the smile line. If I submerge my brush, trying to keep everything on the screen, I'm gonna try to get myself a nice healthy amount of glitter on the end of my brush. I'm gonna drain the excess glitter from the back of the brush. That way, when we set this to the very, very end, I don't have something that's going to run. I'm going to walk it from the top, even with the growth channel, walk it from the top, even, walk it from the top. I got it tucked in the corner. Look at this, from the top, even, from the top, even, from the top, even. I'm really just focusing on, I'm not worried about the end. I'm really just focusing on trying to get all that acrylic right up to the end of the smile line. Then from this point, it's like, okay, if I need to pull this out for length, I can go ahead and do that. I can bring this all the way to the end, all right? I can kind of round off the tip. I can make it sharp like a stiletto. I can make it rounded like an almond shape. Your choice. But once we end up building it just like this, you're going to notice from the side profile, look at this, This is really important. Do you see how much thinner the glitter is than the top of the smile line? Not only that, right? You can see with the tip of my brush, I didn't physically get it all the way to the back, but that's okay as long as it's nice and straight coming off the end. That is all we want. Now what we want to be able to do, right, is we want to be able to use the clear powder. You have plenty of time to manipulate, right, that basically length and shape. The focus is getting it up to the smile line the best you can. I'm going to take my clear powder and dude, all I'm gonna do, literally, I'm gonna set this on the free edge, I'm gonna brush it in. Look at this, touch, 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 touch. While it's wet, I can guide it like a gel. Do you see that? Look at this, I'm barely touching it. And the reason, look at this, and then I can kind of guide it down. I haven't even really touched the surface. All I'm doing is just kind of guiding it in place, working it like a gel and keeping the clarity, look at this. Making sure that the clarity of the acrylic is going to be absolutely bubble free. Like that's how we're going to work it. Now look at that. I'm able to fill in all of that space all the way to the end of the smile line without having to affect anything. Oh, dude, you guys, there is no clear powder in all of the nail industry that is going to be clearer, more glass-like than Speed Clear. Can't even get that thing dialed in. Speed Clear, dude. That is it. The creme de la creme of all clear acrylic. All right, so you're going to notice once that's done, right, that's going to be ready to file. Okay, so one last nail. What we have to be able to do, I'm gonna let that one dry out. We're gonna go ahead and do this, right? But we're gonna wanna build this out onto a tip and to create that window frame. When you're doing that, we have to be able to create an extension again, and you could use any powder. If you wanted to match the color of this, you can choose to do that. We're just gonna build it out with clear powder first. So the first thing what we're going to do, again, when you're practicing, just remember, take the tip, go ahead and clip off the back end, okay? And then just round off the edges, just like this. Perfect, nice and round over the whole entire surface. I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna just make sure that you go in for like 3 or 4 big pushes, right? That way it's nice and tight around the cuticle area. What I wanna be able to do is try to clip off as much of the free edge as we possibly can. I'm gonna use my hand file. I'm just gonna round off the edges because we're gonna end up sculpting out. I'm not going to start to pull the form off this. This body right here is completely dry. This part right here is still moldable, so we just need to wait. All right, let me just go ahead and change out my towel. Boom. All right, so just remember when it comes to prep, I want you guys always go through the process of pushing back the cuticle area, right? If you're doing all 10 nails, you're gonna do all your cuticle areas first. You're going to take your electric file, you're going to gently remove, right? Tickle, 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 coochie, coochie, coo, all the way through. We wanna be able to lightly feather away the shine from the surface of the nail. You don't need to be aggressive. Same thing as if I was working on my skin, you can see nothing, right? A nice gentle rotation to feather away the shine. Notice how I'm holding my electric file in the crease of my hand, just like I'm writing. It's the same positioning when you're working with your acrylic brush, when you're working with your top coats. You have to be able to hold it in a position where you have really, really good balance. Okay, so we're gonna take swipe. I'm going to cleanse the surface of the nail. I'm going to take protein bond. You'll notice when I'm working with my electric file, I have balance. When I'm working with my brush, right, I have connection, I have balance. When I'm applying protein bond, it's the same thing, right? Look at this, I have balance. If I have connection, I'm actually able to apply product to the nail without shaking. It's really, really important. It's one of the key fundamentals to you guys doing nails really well, is having good balance. Okay, so what we're going to do, now this is actually starting to set. You'll know, again, right, still quite moldable right here at the end, but again, I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. It's going to be in perfect position. Let's go ahead, let's go ahead and take, all right, let's go ahead and take our form, place the tab underneath. We're going to pre-pinch, right, the form to create a handle. We're gonna open this up just like this. And then what we wanna be able to do, again, is when we come underneath, right, just get it underneath and then use your finger to tilt it up until it touches the end. And that way we're able to get our forms on nice and tight. So what we wanna be able to do is build, again, a really flush structure. I submerge my brush. I'm going to be able to pick up a nice bead. If I set this down to release a little bit of liquid before I set it onto the form, I'm not going to get it to run. So watch this. What I'm gonna end up doing is using the tip of the brush, just kind of lightly, just lightly. One way you can do this to get it right to the edge is just guide it corner to corner, okay? Perfect. So instead of actually walking it down, I just tucked it up to the corners because I want this. You can see how clear that is. So now, as it starts to set, I still have great workability. I'm gonna be able to work this from side to side. This one we'll just do a really kind of squarish nail. No matter what I do, there's 0 bubbles. Right? I'm sure some of the acrylics that you guys have worked out there, you're just like, why the heck is all this stuff inside my nail? You don't have to worry about that with young nails. I built a really tight free edge, something super thin and flush to the surface. You could always get, if you don't have a great seal, you could always get a very, very gentle amount. Look at this, and just right here, just going to brush it right over the surface to kind of seal the natural nail. Small amount right here, just brush, right? Brush, brush, right? So it's like I built a full well tip. See that? Level of clarity is unbelievable. Okay, so once we actually have the foundation set, then it's a matter of taking our glitter. So again, a really, really small amount. I just want to set this to the corner, and then I'm just going to use the tip of my brush, just kind of chase this all the way down, right? Use the tip of my brush and create a really nice kind of window pattern, boom, all the way around. Something really, again, the brush through to make it look like it's fading, okay? Something tight. And then the same thing as I'm using a small amount of glitter, I'm going to set this right here to the front. I'm just gonna walk this up, right? All the way, right? And then again, use the glitter just to kind of fade it all the way around. So the glitter will be on the tip, just applying a very, very gentle amount. And then using the tip of the brush just to cut right here where the line is to kind of fade it into the body. Just a different level of a glitter fade. Boom, right? Try to create that window frame effect over the whole entire surface. Okay? You can add glitters and mylars and all kinds of cool stuff. Depending on how thick this is, you'll look at the side profile. Like if I'm missing space, don't be afraid. Again, you'll notice with my brush, I'm barely going to touch. So if I needed to add a small amount, I'm not going to overlay the whole entire surface. You see that? I'm using a very, very gentle amount to be able to work into the corner, just to kind of darken the edges. Right, and then just kind of fade this through. All we're trying to do is just darken those edges. Same exact thing here, the amount of product. If I submerge my brush and I just touch it, look at how much comes up. So what I'll do a lot of the times, I'll take my brush and I'll spin my brush on the towel first before I touch it, so that I'm able to get a really, really small bead. So again, submerge your brush, right? There's a lot of liquid on this brush. If I spin my brush on my towel, there's still enough monomer on here, look at this, to barely touch, and then I'll be able to pick up those really like small amounts, look at that, where I can apply it into the area that I want without basically overwhelming the design and making it way too bulky. It's a way for you to be able to kind of get around that edge, make it super clean, spin your brush, just touch, just really good glitter control. You could do the same thing with colored acrylic. Boom. So you'll notice in this position, super, super thin. And what we want to be able to do, if I submerge my brush, right, and this is already starting to set. So again, if I submerge my brush, I come in, I pull, bounce, 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 and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the advantage of working from the cuticle. I can push this super tight. Look at this. I don't even care where the product is running. I just want it to run down past that area. As soon as I start to brush the front of the acrylic, you're going to notice how well everything is, like, I don't even go back here anymore. All the bulk and all the shape is already there. All I'm doing is brushing from the front of the bead in order to get it super tight all the way to the edge. Okay, so this is super set all the way around, brushing this all the way through. Take one more bead, and what we're going to do, my blending bead is gonna go right here backwards. I'm leaving all that excess. I don't start attacking it right away. I start to use the body of the brush, walk it from side to side to fill all the negative space, then use the body of the brush to walk through. And again, at the same time, look at this connection. My hand is connected. That way I don't shake while I work. A lot of you guys that are starting, if you're holding the brush way back here and you're slapping at the product, you're always going to run into problems. It doesn't matter if I'm working with real small blending beads. Look at this. I still have my finger balanced. I'm able to wipe, basically position my finger. That way I'm always balanced when I'm working. So if I'm walking over the surface or I'm brushing through, a lot of times I have a pivot point. I have a connection all the way through, okay? So again, like you can create all kinds of backgrounds. There's so many different things. There's mylars, there's confettis, there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can add. For those of you guys who have real artistic skill, you can take colored powders, you can draw designs on the background, overlay them in case the designs, like this is already set. You can already see, like this still has a lot of flexibility. But again, as this starts to dry out, it will dry out to a perfect state. Okay, so it depends on what you want to be able to create. All right, let me just go ahead and get the design ready to file. No, they're not the same. The mystery boxes that we advertise are here for the States. If there's other countries that are distributors of Young Nails, they're running their own mystery boxes, but for here, they are exclusive for the US. I'm gonna take my hand file. I'm really gonna get my sides dialed in. All right, I'm going to square off the front. Remember the side profile. Keep contact at the lowest point. File up. Just remember when you guys are working on these, right, they don't want to slide off. The easiest thing to do is turn the hand to the side. If the growth channel is lower, make sure that your hand file is lined up, flush, right, parallel to the finger as you file into the corner and make it absolutely tight. File this back, try to get this even. All of these, what I'll do is I'll always do my sides. I'll get all my perimeter shaping dialed in first, get the sides dialed, turn the hand to the side, start working from growth, like the front. Remember, parallel to the finger, lowest point, file up until it gets even, right? Don't stick it into the corner and file in. You always have to start from the lowest point. You can see all that edge is hanging below. So if I keep contact and I continue to file, what I'll be able to do is bring the hand file right up to the end of the growth channel. And you're going to notice that the extension is going to be perfectly straight all the way to the very, very end. All right, just try to, again, as you're working, especially on these practice hands, just try to get it as perfect as you possibly can. Once the perimeter is shaped, this is almost set. You just make sure that, I'm gonna go ahead and try to pinch this in real tight. I'm gonna mold that real tight, okay? And then this is almost set. Let's go ahead and file the first two. All right, I'm almost done. I am almost done. Taking my time. Trying to explain as much as I possibly can. All right, so what we're going to do, let's do the first one, right? I'm looking at the side profile, right? You're gonna notice a lot of the bulk is going to be right up through this top end. And then I have a lot of bulk. Right here at the front, right? Trying to get that great arch. A lot of acrylic bulk on the end. I'm coming down the barrel of the nail and I'm trying to remove, again, as much thickness from the front end. We're gonna go around the cuticle area, try to remove as much thickness and through the body. Try to get this as even as we possibly can. Once most of that bulk is filed away, then it's a matter of using my hand file, right? And a lot of times when I'm using my hand file, I like to go around the perimeter of the nail first, try to blend that as tight as we can. I like to follow up and down the side, right, to get that even contact here on the side of the nail, to get this as even as possible. And last but not least, what we want to be able to do, right, I need to look down this area here just to make sure that my side walls are going to be even on both sides. And then I like to look down this barrel to make sure that we're going to get this front tip as even as we possibly can. All right, so that way we're looking down the barrel of the nail. It's going to look flawless. Buff out a majority of the scratches. Make sure that everything is going to be even, client profile. And you're going to notice, right, when we wipe the surface of this, right, like that, I'm going to be able to get a really nice fade, right, from side to side. And that's what we want to be able to create. Boom. The smile line here, you're going to notice, again, as I file through, right, as I file through, most of my thickness is going to be there. So I'm taking down a little bit of bulk. I'm really focusing my attention right there in the upper arch. I'm going to file down the barrel behind the smile line in one direction towards the tip of the nail. You're going to notice, look at this, as I file this away, the smile line, we're going to get a really, really sharp smile from corner to corner. I'm going to go around the perimeter of the nail to reduce a lot of the bulk, file through the rest of the nail, and then the rest of it is just hand filing, right? I go ahead at this point and start working around. I'm going to be able, all these like areas where I can do detailing. Look at that. I can come in, I can do detailing to get it super sharp up into that corner. Do cuticle detailing, right? Smile line detailing. I file down the side in one direction. I file on the right side on one direction. And then I always follow through here, right? We always want to be able to look down the client profile after we're done. Want to line my file at the edge and then just make it as even, again, as we possibly can. I like to use, again, peace sign rested on, again, make a peace sign resting between my knuckles. And then start filing down the barrel of the nail so that we could get this as sharp and even as we can from side to side. And then you're going to notice as we file this away, look at that. Like you can see the shadow of the smile line. It's so sharp. It's crazy. Look at that. And that's what we want to be able to create. All right. So that's, again, depending, you can use the glitter again to create the fade on the nail. You can use the glitter, right, to create the smile line. And then last but not least, right, this one, square off the front. So again, didn't really go intense. Didn't go intense with the opacity on the front. But once you have background created, there's so much you can paint on the surface. You can do all kinds of killer design work. Look at that, the lower arch is hanging low. Look where I'm starting. From the lowest point, I keep contact, keep it straight, continue to keep it straight until I reach the end of the growth channel. And then I'm gonna have a really, really straight extension from the end of the growth channel all the way out to the end of the nail. So the easiest way is turn the hand file to the side, line it up at the lowest point parallel to the finger. Keep contact, continue to keep straight contact on that lower arch until you reach the end of the growth channel, and you're going to have really, really straight sidewalls, okay? So once you have the perimeter shaped out, then we're gonna take our electric file and then we're gonna move through the rest of it. So I don't really need a lot of work here, right? I don't wanna file too much glitter here. Just kind of filing through the upper arch to try to get the natural shape dialed in. I'm gonna file through the body, right? Through the C-curve to make sure it's even on the tip in one direction. I'm gonna move around the perimeter to try to dial this in, remove some of that bulk, and then basically all the way through. And then once a majority of the bulk is removed through the surface, then what we wanna be able to do, again, detail work. Remember, the amount of glitter that I applied to the cuticle area was not heavy. I don't wanna over-file it, but you're going to notice, look at this, it's nice and tight, right? So at this point, left side, all the way down, blend it, right side, right? Again, right side, keep contact all the way through. And then last but not least, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to look down the barrel of the nail. So if I line my file here, you can see how straight it is, right? Even the right side, right? I'm gonna get this really, really straight on this side. And then what I want to be able to do is make a peace sign, rest it on the surface, and then basically file the top, right? So that it's dead straight. And then go ahead and just kind of buff all three of these kind of out. I'm gonna buff all three of these out. All right, so like what we're able to do again is take three different, we take the glitter, look at that. You can make basically, you can overlay it. You can do a smile line. You can do a fade. Like there's so many options available when you have the right fundamentals and you really understand the right structure when you're able to do it. You'll notice once I'm done, what I'm going to do, I always will take protein bond. Let me just go ahead and clean up the surface of these. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna run a little bit of protein bond on. This is gonna be the anchor to our top coat. So the protein bond is literally going to eliminate any chipping around the edges or through the surface. All right, so what we're gonna be able to do is get that on the top of our enhancement. And then I like to use finish gel. Let me grab some finish. There we go. to notice, again, like just right through the center, brush that through, get that even to the end. Just get this as even as we can to the end. And again, balance, right? So you're going to notice even with my hands, try to balance this out as much as we possibly can. To get that. And that's with the top coat. You're going to notice with this, again, nice healthy amount. The top coat is what really makes the design explode. A nice healthy amount over the surface, and take, you know, again, try to work it nice and even from side to side. And then even with this design as well, let's go ahead and get that on all the way through. So you're going to be able to see, right, with all three, doesn't matter what shapes you're working on, right? With glitter, you're going to be able to create any effect you possibly can, okay? All right, just remember, you guys, Black Friday is coming. It's going to be absolutely epic. For those of you guys who have not subscribed, you have to subscribe to the channel. It's the only way you're going to get notifications on all the upcoming education that we have. You can call us at 1-800-777-9170. You know, feel free to leave comments below so that we can get back to you. So 1-800-777-9170, you can talk to someone. I mean, how many companies can you actually call and talk to customer service? And then just remember, you have to subscribe. The only way you're gonna get notifications on Nail School on a regular basis, subscribe and like. Black Friday, November 6th, it's coming. It's going to be absolutely epic. 30% off site-wide, 2 mystery boxes, craziest bundles. I mean, I can't wait to show you guys all the new stuff that we have coming out with. It's going to be the greatest sale of the year. All right, really appreciate you. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Lizzie. And again, tune in for more education. I hope this helped. Look forward to working with you soon. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.